A former police chief in Ohio is facing a discrimination lawsuit after he allegedly photoshopped a Latino officer's face onto a bottle of hot sauce, Tapatio to be exact. Now, the police officer, AJ Torres, says that his former boss, then Sheffield Lake Police Chief Anthony Campo, regularly targeted him both for his race and also his religious beliefs before Campo finally retired about a year ago. Now, this has turned into a lawsuit, which is why it's in the news. During a press conference with his attorneys Tuesday, Torres explained that Campo photoshopped his head wearing a sombrero onto a bottle of Tapatio and then posted it on the department's bulletin board, right? I mean, it's bad enough when you hear stories about this with cops like emailing each other terrible things. But no, this police chief is like, I did something terrible and I'm now going to post about it on the bulletin board to further embarrass my subordinate. That's essentially what he did here. And of course, it's incredibly racist. Let's take a quick look at who this former police chief was and what he had done to the bottle of Tapatio, which we've censored. There it is, okay. Just evidence that it happened. When Torres was hired part-time in 2013, the city agreed to give him Sundays off so he could observe the Sabbath and continue his charity work. Campo, though, regularly tried to make him work on Sundays anyway. He also made fun of him for observing Lent and insulted his charity work. I mean, isn't it so funny when people do charity work? Let's bully them for it. Amazing. In addition to the two other incidents, Torres says Campo once photoshopped Torres's head onto the body of a priest with the caption, "You want me to work on Sunday? Oh, hell no." He also accused Torres of being a pedophile, which is a right-wing favorite these days, defaming people as pedophiles, which is like one of the worst things you could possibly do. List goes on and on. Ida, obviously these types of stories at this point, not surprising, but it looks like this police chief ended up retiring before he could get fired.
You know, we wonder sometimes why some policemen of color don't come forward and say anything about what's happening, because they too are experiencing racial discrimination, racism, bigotry within the workplace. And sometimes if they do speak up, you know, there are consequences. But my question is, if you have time to sit your ass down and Photoshop pictures, which takes time, shouldn't you be using that time to protect and serve? Like, why are you doing that on our dollar? We pay your salaries. Like, we have to start holding the people that we pay accountable for what they do with their time on the clock with us. And I just want to know, like, you know, I mean, he photoshopped more than one picture. So obviously if he's doing that, I can't imagine what he's doing to the other people in there. You know what I mean?
Oh, I'll tell you, because there's a lot more. I mean, if you think the Tapatio bottle was bad, it's about to get worse, okay? So according to a letter from the city's attorneys, the city of Sheffield Lake does not dispute Campo's conduct was perhaps inappropriate and in poor taste. No, it was racist, it was bullying, and it was being terrible to someone who reports to him. Yep. But let me continue. However, the city maintains that the former chief's actions were not so offensive to the reasonable person that it would materially affect the terms and consequences of employment. So let me continue. I just want to give you the response from the city, the callous, ridiculous response, before I get to some of the other things that he's done, okay? Because he's done terrible things. So last June, he was forced to resign after he was caught. So my apologies, I thought he retired before he could resign or before he got fired. But no, he was forced to resign after he was caught on video placing a sign with the words Ku Klux Klan on the raincoat of the department's only black officer. The officer, Keith Poole, said that he had a family member killed by the KKK. So I can imagine how awful that feels, how triggering that might be. And there's evidence of it, which you're looking at right now. You see this clown, placing the sign on the back of the raincoat. The charge of discrimination filed by Poole last November said that Campo also made a makeshift KKK hat out of paper and wrote in front of him and his colleagues and insisted that he wear it when responding to his next service call. Campo was also accused of telling officers before Poole's employment that he'd never hire an N-word. Real classy. And the city, by the way, knows about all this. And they're like, it's in poor taste, but does it really rise to the level of discrimination? City protected this guy.
Of course they did, because racism is so American. Racism is so embedded in the fiber of this country. And then constantly telling people of color that they are, gaslighting people of color. Here we go, pulling the race card. Everything is about race. It's like blah, 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 blah. Every single day in America for a person of color is a moment that they have to think about the color of their skin and how other people are gonna engage them because of it. And the thought of, having to be in the presence of someone who thinks it's funny to do the KKK thing when you got a family member killed. I mean, that's actually trauma. But the toxic masculinity that runs within law enforcement is also, combined into. I mean, you throw the sexism, the racism, the homophobia, you stir it up. It's all connected, and these. And I'm thinking the last name Campo, like I really want to know what the origin of that last name is. But the fact that you're doing this and people need you, the people need you. It's just so, what else is going on in that police department? Like, and then they wonder, you know what I mean? Like why people don't respect them. If that's the head of it, that's the boss. Why would anybody respect that situation? This is who's in charge.
Now, while it was very harsh toward the city and their ridiculous statement, I do want to give some credit to the mayor who spoke about his interaction with Campo after the video of him placing the note on the rain jacket came out. The chief was standing in his office. He made a joke. Am I gonna get fired over this? And I looked at the law director and handed him his paper and he says, after 30 years, this is what I get. I said, you have 10 minutes to get out of your office. That's the way he should have been treated as soon as he started photoshopping officers' faces in a racist way onto bottles of hot sauce.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.